Yeah, let's go. We came a long way. That's what the song said. And I could do all things. I could do all things. Yeah, I could do all things. Yeah. We came a long way.
How might accessibility or lack of negatively impact my dental practice?
Right. So I think it basically touches upon the two factors that we talked about before. The first thing, from a pragmatic standpoint, look, this is a reality today. Obviously, we've seen it way too often how, certain dental practices can unfortunately get wrapped up in some of this litigation. And honestly, the preventative and more proactive approaches have always, yielded more positive outcomes. So I would say that, in dealing with this evolving situation, having an accessibility solution in place just makes good sense, good business sense, right? This is a new reality that we as business owners and dental practices sort of need to address. And this is a very efficient way to broach that issue. So that's the first one. The second thing is from an inclusive standpoint. If a dental practice isn't making that effort, and the community can kind of notice that and see that and say, well, how come, right? And isn't the whole idea of, like you talked about, being part of the healthcare community, being inclusive? So I think that from both of those standpoints, from a branding standpoint and from a pragmatic sort of litigation and mitigation of risk standpoint, there are potential negatives in not addressing this issue.
I can see that, and especially now. I mean, we don't have to be a rocket scientist to see that the economy is in trouble, and things. People are looking for ways to make money, and so it's like one of these ways to potentially make money is maybe you go negative and attack one of these dental practices.
Right. I mean, it's certainly an issue. I feel like at this stage, it's something that is cannot be ignored, and that businesses need to sit down and with their web agencies sort of figure out a way to address this, whatever way that is. But I think that doing nothing with regards to web accessibility is no longer a reasonable option, in my opinion.
So, we're going through this presentation, and this seems like this is some really good information. Why haven't dentists gone this path already? Why haven't they made their website accessible yet?
Awesome question. I think that, like most businesses, I think that there's still an education process that we're in the middle. Like, this type of a presentation is about creating that awareness and about raising that level of education surrounding this topic. I think a lot of dental practices, like many other businesses, really don't have a strong understanding of this issue, of what web accessibility really is and how they can address it. And so as a result, they're just kind of, unfortunately, not in the know. And so it's these type of initiatives where a web agency will come forward and say, listen, we're paying attention to this because this is our expertise. This is what we do. We want to make sure that the sites that we build and manage are up to date with today's and tomorrow's standards. And we see that this is a standard that is becoming more and more prevalent. And we're going to bring it to your attention and hopefully have a discussion about it to see how we can integrate this in your website.
Wow. Yeah. Just even thinking about it from our space, I remember years ago being on the fringes of just web design. People were talking about getting their websites remade to be accessible, and I remember those price tags were like in the range of like $5 to $10,000. Now the product that you guys have is nowhere near that, and we'll talk about that as we get. But certainly that perception that it's still cost prohibitive is probably.
That's a good point too, as well. I think that's entirely true. I mean, the issue of web accessibility has been around for as long as the internet has been around. But prior to our innovation with using artificial intelligence, it was dealt with using manual remediation, which is basically hiring a developer for $100 to $200 an hour, or whatever you might pay your developer, to spend hours and hours going through your entire site and making the adjustments that we talked about for people in the disabilities community. And that could easily run a business $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 for a relatively simple website. And so it was just financially completely infeasible. And so along comes Accessibility and creates this AI tool that turns that all upside down, is very efficient and is also very cost efficient.
Yeah, I can see that. And just to add insult to injury, as is said, it's like it's hoping that you have a developer that you can trust. I mean, we all know about the horror stories about the devs coming in and not finishing the job. So it's like even going that route. I mean, having a tool and having a service, a nationwide, actually a globally trusted brand. Excuse me for minimalizing the product. It makes a huge difference.
It really does. It really does. And that's something to keep in mind. Also, look, the issue of web accessibility is a complex one.
I want to know your thoughts, your comments. Put them in the comments below. If you have the opportunity, do that thing, smash that like button. All right, guys, I'll see you all next video.
Yeah, we came a long way. That's what the song say, and I can do all things. That's what the song say, and I can do all things.